Next question today. Hey, David, why is the United States, Northeast, and New England so liberal if it started with conservative pilgrims? This is a great question. What you have to understand is that today, if we think back to the pilgrims, they are extremely conservative by today's standards. A Bernie Sanders progressive from Boston today is way to the left of a pilgrim that was in modern day, what is now Boston, hundreds of years ago. Okay. But at the time, they were progressive given what they were doing. We talked about this in our video called, I think it's called The Founding Fathers Were Progressive and You Should Be Too, or something like that. Fighting the powers of England to separate and become independent with the idea of freedom of and freedom from religion, even though they were religious, at the time was a radical, progressive, forward-thinking idea. At any particular point, what you have to understand is the people in the Northeast of the United States were the progressives relative to whatever group they were separating from or whatever the alternative effectively was. Yes, to me today in 2019, as culturally Jewish, lefty, millennial David Pakman, pilgrims seem outrageously conservative to me. But compared to the establishment status quo people that they were separating from at the time, they were progressive left-wingers. As you move forward in time, as evangelical Christians started to spread to different parts of the United States, the Northeast is almost not at all evangelical. Evangelicals are one of the most conservative branches of Christianity. Instead, in the Northeast, you've got Catholics and Quakers and Unitarians and other sects, and probably, I would argue, although I haven't looked at the numbers, more Jews. I mean, Massachusetts and New York, I know, have more Jews than most of the U.S., but maybe some of these other Northeast New England states do as well. Jews, one of the most liberal voting groups in the country. When you look at that, you realize, oh yeah, at any given time, you also had fewer of the most conservative religious sects in the Northeast relative to the Midwest and the South, with evangelicals and other more conservative Christian groups. But there's even more than religion as well, because the history of education also plays a big role in this. If we zoom out, we know that when people are less religious and more educated, they tend to be further progressive. They tend to be further to the left. When you look at the history of education and the preponderance of great colleges in the Northeast, in Massachusetts, in other states in New England, that tends to lead to more Democratic voting individuals, even though you have states like New Hampshire and Vermont and Massachusetts that have rural areas that you might associate more with the Midwest and the South and parts that tend to have more conservatives. Overall, you still have, even the rural areas in Massachusetts are closer to urban areas or semi-urban areas. They're closer to other towns. They are often college towns, which is a significant leftward pushing force. And then the other thing is also the distribution of the Republicans in the Northeast. You still have plenty of Republicans in the Northeast. I mean, I think even here in Massachusetts, Trump got close to 40% of the vote, which is, I get it. It ended up being more than a 20-point margin for Hillary Clinton, but almost 40% of one of the bluest states still voted for Donald Trump. The thing is, they are sort of sparsely distributed so that they have a lesser electoral impact. So if I had to summarize it really succinctly, the reason why the Northeast continues to be a very progressive part of the country would be more education, less religion, and some of the other kind of geographical dynamics that tend to appeal more to and be more common in more progressive rather than conservative areas.